still pretty powerful on this patch, and it will be locked in for LGD. So straight away, they are going to have a pretty strong solo laner and potentially a side laner to work with. And I feel like that could definitely be a good way to try and maneuver around BLG's generally very, very strong team fighting if you can try and break the map apart.
I'm kind of surprised to see Annie hovered here in that BLG banned the Tristana, letting the LeBlanc with Shiv go with no counter. I don't think they were expecting LGD to first pick the LeBlanc here. I think they maybe wanted it for themselves and were hoping LGD would first pick something else. But it does mean now. I thought BLG were going to have some wacky answer. I thought Yaga was going to lock something in specifically to go against the LeBlanc, but he just goes with the standard Annie, which he's been all over this split. And now it goes with the standard FLS. They are still in, 13-11 mode, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, like, Annie is still kind of the queen of mid lane at the moment. And I think for as long as I can remember, it's been one of the better champions to run into LeBlanc. And Elk is, in my mind, well, I guess rulers in the league, right? So you can't necessarily the best Aphelios in the league, but he's definitely top 2 no matter how you shake it. And LGD.
See, do you want to know?
Yeah.
Right, I've got a bit of sage advice, some broadcast wisdom. There are 2 phrases that will you can get away with anything. You could say one of the best in the league, and you haven't really clarified your quantity there, because I could mean he's one of the best 17 AD carries in the league, Like, you can say anything if you say one of. And also, you can say arguably the best AD carry in the league. Because whether it's true or not, you can make an argument for it, and therefore he is arguably the best AD carry in the league. See, these are the tricks. These are the tricks of the trade, Javada, where you can get away with absolute murder.
No, I'm just going to say flat statements and let people try and tear them apart if they want to. I like conflict, Joe. That's just me. That aside, though.
So what you're saying is Envy best AD carry in the league.
Envy
because that would be the statement that gets you told apart.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Man, for me, Envy, he's right below Ruler and Elk actually as number 3. How did you know that he's one of my favorite AD carries in the league? You got me.
To be fair, Envy and Jinjao have actually had some decent lanes. The problem is they've also had some really not decent lanes. Like, I feel like this bot lane have been like they've been hit or miss, but in the way where it's like when they hit, it's a home run, but when they miss, they strike out and fall into the dirt. I don't know why I'm going with American sports here.
I don't know why either, but I actually agree with you. I feel like the other bigger issue for me is that Envy has been getting manhandled in team fights by Cassante, but LGD have Cassante, so that's maybe not going to be a problem for them this time around. Yeah, we'll see what AD carry is also going to land on, because now he's got no self-pill Zaya. He's also not got a Varus to try and stay super far back and poke and deal with the Aphelios. He's instead got Cassante, got Kai'Sa and Rel, so they're looking to dive in potentially with this LGD composition. It kind of had the ability to, sort of play 1-3-1, but honestly, this composition is super aggressive from LGD, and I like it. Coming in as the underdogs here into BLG and just saying, you know what, we're still not scared of you at the very least on the draft side, and we're going to look to try and, find picks, find these massive engages.
Yeah, I really like this composition from LGD. The one concern I have is that on the side of BLG, you've got a lot of AoE there. If everyone's jumping in from LGD into the Tibbers, into the Needlework, into Viego getting resets, the Moonlight Vigil on everyone, and now an Alistair to get that CC to deny the potential dive, that can get rough if BLG are feeling coordinated today, and I've yet to see BLG not feeling coordinated, so we'll see how this one's going to go. I feel like Alistair has really come into his own on this patch. We started to see much more Alistair. Saw it yesterday from Mako a couple of times, and on going to be replicating that. On a huge Rakan player, I feel like Rakan and Alistair, they're kind of akin to one another. Different in that one's slippery and one's tanky, but both like that go forward, get everyone in the knock-up and cause chaos.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's pretty interesting to see that Alistair's kind of starting to pick up a little bit more priority, right? I wonder what the reason is behind the scenes, whether teams are just starting to pick it up. I know it is also just a pretty good answer, Interro inside the lane as well. But he has been kind of sitting in meta limbo for a while, right? Never quite strong enough to be a consistent pick, and never quite weak enough to not be considered in, some spots where it just makes sense. We'll see exactly what On gets done on the pick as we move into game number 1.
It's just funny to me that he's started to come into the meta a little bit today and yesterday, and he didn't get a buff. It's not like the new patch has given him some extra strength. This is just the way that the meta is developing. And I always like that. I always like it when we get picks coming into the meta because of innovation as opposed to because Riot tweaked the numbers, you know. So very good. And Rel can do well into the Alistar as well. It's one of those things where both of them massive CC, but if Alistar has his ult up and then Rel manages to steal some of those stats, Rel becomes absolutely invincible.
Can definitely work both ways. That's why I like matchups like that, especially the support round. I feel like support matchups are often overlooked when it comes to draft. It's oftentimes, in my mind, actually far more important than the AD carry. If you have a winning support matchup, you can unlock so much on the map, right? It oftentimes means, you know, if you have a winning support matchup, you probably have bot prio. If you have bot prio, it means you can go set up vision earlier. All these different things which can cascade onto the rest of the map.
Even outside of like controlling the rest of the map, even just in the 2v2, I feel like the support matchup is far more important than the AD carry matchup. Like most of the time, especially in the earlier stages of the game, it's pretty much down to auto attacks for the AD carry. Like especially the first couple of levels, you don't even have the abilities. So it's all down to who has the better support matchup, who can control that middle brush, right? Until you hit that third wave, crash it under tower, and then it starts to become much more relevant, which AD carry is in the play. Obviously, not 100% down to the supports, but I'd say they're much more important. Then the other role is here we go. Kicking off now. LGD. Starting on the bottom side is Meteor, who has had an incredible split despite the team's scoreline. Meteor has looked really good on this team, so looking towards him as kind of the driving force for LGD.
Yeah, and he's the one with the agency, right? The biggest agency tool in the side of LGD with the Sejuani and that Glacial Prison. So once that level 6 comes in, I'm anticipating a lot of aggression again. I feel like the composition is kind of spelled for that. Kai'Sa Rel on the bottom side, the Blanc as well. Very, very slippery in the 2v2. Need to see that Meteor looks to facilitate those lanes. And pathing out towards the top side early is definitely a pretty interesting choice. I wonder if he's just trying to cover potentially an early gank from Shun. We'll have to see as this trade is starting to get aggressive.
Yeah. On's in big trouble, forced to flash away. But now Elk trying to turn it around. Envy's in trouble as he flashes on for the Calibrum. He's looking for a little bit more as well. Jin Zhao, flash available. Elk not going to chase for more, but wow. It looked so good for LGD, but you can't 2v2 Elk and On. These are the best in the league.
Yeah, you just can't, can you? And Envy didn't even really have a space to use either of his summoner spells, just dies with them up. Gets flashed on by Elk, and I guess on the bright side, it does mean Elk, no summoner spells, can be collapsed on. Jin Zhao has flash, right? So he can look for a flash engage. It's not impossible. Just has to time it around On and not getting CC'd and stopped in his own right. So that's something that we're going to have to check on the side of BLG, right? How Elk can On now navigate this lane, but also how it's covered by the rest of the map as Shun's made his way up here. Meteor's not too far away either. Gonna spot him out on the vision plant and probably just force him, at the very least, not to gank the top side of the map, but a lot of movement here from the mid lane means that we could have a bit of a scuffle over the Skull Crab.
The Scuttle Scuffle coming in. Shun doesn't have Smite, and it means Meteor gets it. High Chant dips out of the play as well. It won't lead to anything in the end, but Meteor managing to get that one. Now moving down to the bottom side. He wants the double Scuttle. It looks like he's going to get it as the reset will come from Shun.
Yeah, reset's coming out because the bottom side of the map here for LGD has priority, so all comes down to this 2v2. Just because the wave is kind of stacked up in the extended trade here, so he'll get that. But yeah, it looks pretty bad for On, but Envy can't quite get this last auto attack in, right? And Flash comes out from On, means he doesn't get that fifth and final proc stacked, and even if Envy goes in, he dies anyway, so maybe he just looks for the 1v1 to get the first blood, right? But Elk, he's the one that goes in instead. He finds his kill. Now he's up that 1 kill, and he hasn't actually managed to base yet, so I guess it's still technically, you know, even laning for now, but Elk is still up that level. It was On that had to go back to base, so Elk soaked up all that solo XP.
Yeah, and I love the amount of action and aggression we're already seeing in this game as LGD, it feels like they're the ones on the front foot. Like, BLG, one of the shortest average game times in the league. They're 5th place for average game time. This is a team that definitely puts the pressure on once they get a lead. Not necessarily the most aggressive in the early game, though. Not necessarily the team that is always pushing forwards. That said, they do have insane first blood percentage. Like, first in the league for first blood percentage. And I feel like in this game, this is a great example of how that usually happens. They wait for the opponent to make a mistake and then punish hard.
Absolutely. And it's a fairly big wave stacked up. I wonder... Oh, hello, Yagao. Chains are there.
Is he going to flash here? Trying to hold on to it. And
wow.
Rightly so. He... not a single bit of fear in his eyes there. He's like, you know what? LeBlanc at level 5 with a long sword and a Sejuani. I don't think you got the damage. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah, ice cold, and Meteor couldn't quite get that fourth auto attack in, right? Hit both parts of the flail, but couldn't get the second auto, and just means, unfortunately, he can't get the permafrost stack in, and Yagao had the passive, just stunned him up, knew he could walk away. Really good understanding of the situation there. I was going to say, earlier on, I wondered if BLG were willing to just go for a very early dragon, right? They had the bottom side priority, but I think the fact that now Yagao's been ganked and forced back to base, that it's just a slightly riskier endeavor than they were willing to actually look to invest in. So for now, they will just hold off on that. But I would like to see from the side of BLG just get those early dragons stacking, or at the very least just try and see if you can pick up the first one. Deny LGD the opportunity to try and get that snowball going. And I think for LGD, they should definitely look to find some aggression somewhere now as these level 6s crest over, right? Yeah. Fearness with the all-out, very, very powerful skirmisher. Yes, Gwen should theoretically win out in most 1v1 situations, but if you can, you know, be the first to the punch, you definitely have a little more wiggle room in that regard. Yeah.
And I think for fairness, like, the way you're going to impact this game is getting involved in the scraps, right? Like, I don't think you're going to win that 1v1 as Yagao. Use that Tibbers. On was arriving on the plate as well, but just a second too late. Can't get involved as Yagao will be able to just passively clear this wave using Tibbers and actually going to get a bit of damage down onto LGD as well. Interesting to see this 3-man stack in the mid lane from LGD while Bin trying to stop the proxy farm coming out from Fairness. Tibbers taken down. Prio in mid for LGD. Perhaps they could get an opportunity at Drake.
Yeah, seems pretty good, right? And it is level 6 now, Meteor, and controlling the entrances to the river is so powerful for LGD as Elk's level 6 with now red and white. Even was able to stack up some chakrams off of the Infernum Q. But now LGD, the worst thing they can do is just check in a little too far.
Stun available for Yagao here as Jin Chao the target for now, and he's gone. He's already gone. The Ignite is there. The auto! Oh no! He gets out. Shun flashes over the wall. The stun out from Jin Chao. It's not enough for Shun. Does get himself that reset on the rel. Oh no, Envy does have flash, has cleanse. They're not going to go for the dive here. They're just going to go for the Drake instead.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels real bad for LGD, right? They had control of the river, but they just get engaged on as they're trying to rotate back towards mid lane, presumably to just get another wave of priority. And really, really good stuff by BLG, just checking the rotation and on finding the engage, and Yagao stacking all the damage on top of Jin Chao.
So let's take another look how they started, because Yagao no Tibbers. You do wonder if they've got the damage to make it happen, but with Elk here, it feels impossible for LGD.
Yeah, I think the fact that Elk also comes in just to make it a 4v5, kind of just, you know, icing on the cake scenario here. Adds in a little bit of additional damage, which does bring Jin Chao down to a point where Shun can follow him over the wall and pick up that kill as Elk. How much threat is he under? The answer is not too much.
Yeah. Envy goes in, uses that ult. Is on escaping on the top side of the play. This is 2v3, by the way, as they will be able to finish on off, I think. It's going to take him a while. Arel and a Sejuani, 2 mounted tanks just chasing him down. And the bull is finally turned into beef. Envy grabbing himself his first kill of the game.
All right, there we go. Envy's back in the game with this kill. And Elk might end up missing a fair portion of that wave. I'm not quite sure if it had a cannon in it. This is how the initial part of this fight actually started off. So Meteor and Jin Chao kind of acknowledged that they're going to be able to pick up on, and Envy felt like he could maybe force a little bit more than what he ended up getting out of Elk. So there you go, and just because On gets forced down means he also ends up feeding over that kill to the Kai'Sa.
I wonder if On could have, like, On still had flash. I wonder if he could have got away if he'd just moved through the lane towards Elk. Maybe could have looked for more. Obviously his combo was on cooldown. I don't know if he could have got away or not, but either way, goes down. 2-1 now in favor of BLG. And again, like, BLG, this is a team that have been dominant. This is a team that when they get a lead, the speed at which they snowball is absurd. They have the highest goal difference of 15 in the entire league. And that's saying something because we've got some other insane teams in the league as well. But BLG, they do dominate once you let them get ahead. I like the LGD on conceding the early game, though. They are fighting away. They are trying to make sure that they don't fall too far behind us. 2 Chains comes out from High Chow. Reminds me of that old LCK hype video. I don't even know what season that was, but I just remember 2 Chains being on it, and that was like, for some reason, that was just hilarious.
Huh.
It was like,
I feel like
it was season 4.
You just activated a neuron in my brain. I think I remember that, but that was ages ago. Good, yeah. No, you're right. I think I remember the content piece as well. Very old bit. Showing your age there, much.
Yeah, I think it's like, I want to say it was season 4, I feel like. I've just like tried to Google it, and there's like an article of the top 10 OGN hype videos. And obviously, oh no, the article's gone. No, it's no longer there. But yeah, I mean, LCK back in the day. Well, it wasn't LCK, was it? It was OGN back then, but they had some insane videos. They had some absolutely insane stuff. But the 2 Chains one, top of the list for me. I mean, I can't really remember any other ones, to be honest. That's the one that I remember, so it's got to be top of the list. Is there anyone on the list? Herald, top of the list for LGD at the minute. And I don't think that there's going to be enough of a contest. The Herald will be taken. Maybe a fight
teleport behind them.
I don't know to get involved.
I mean, Finn should be able to walk it out. There's no... Oh,
okay.
Finn should be fine, right?
He is Gwen. Needlework's going to come through. Finis dodges the second one. Third one hits, but now flashing forwards. Has been dashes away, has his own flash, uses it to try and reposition, but he's down. LGD bringing it to BLG in the early game.
Okay, LGD. Not bad, not bad. And well played from Finis to just slip behind Bin there. Get him close enough to the wall to the point where he could all-eye him towards the tower so that someone else can actually come over and help finish up that kill. And that's a pretty nice bit of cash injection as L. That's an extra tower shot, but he's got red and white. And
I'm loving this AD carry matchup. They are just going at it. Envy tries to find the solo kill. On is there, but here comes Jinja out to finish the job. BLG are being given a run for their money. High Chow with a bit of a dodgy teleport at the end of the play, but it doesn't matter. The 2v2 just got won by Envy and Jinja.
He's there to be that mascot of morale that is needed at the moment for LGD. Really well played, to be honest with you. The collapse comes in. I have to say, you know, if Elk hits that ultimate, then maybe he just survives a little bit longer, but everything ends up flying a little bit wide, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I think unironically, I think if On didn't combo him at that specific time, Envy would have continued to kite into that ultimate. I kind of feel bad for Elk, but it's not even On's grief. Yeah, it's just a little bit unlucky on the timing.
It's one of those ones where, like, you play on your second account to play with your bronze friend, and you're trying to predict your skill shots, and they just don't dodge. You know, they just don't dodge. Like On stopped him dodging, so Elk just completely whiffs the ult instead. But hey, look at this! LGD have got a gold lead against BLG right now. I was saying at the start, like, LGD, you cannot count them out. This is a team that really can take it to the top teams, despite the scoreline. They're way better than it looks. And I bet there were people in chat like, what a clown. No, they're not. Blah, 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 blah. Look at this early game. LGD are here to play. BLG, they'll be able to get themselves a second Drake, but my goodness. Hey, look, we said Envy, arguably the best AD carry in the league. I'm just saying, he's winning 2v2 against Elkanon.
Hey, look, you know, my analysis is often very on the nose, not particularly subtle. And, you know, I was the first to stand up and be like, you know, Envy is my GOAT. You know what I mean? He's one of the best here. And he's got to prove it against... I can't even keep a straight face. But this is a pretty impressive early game from LGD, all jokes aside. Definitely has to be said as... no smite from Shun means that you have to give that one up. And uses ultimate, so another small win here for LGD.
Yeah.
Looking
too shabby.
Pretty good.
So Drakes feel like the big win condition for BLG. I don't feel like we really went in depth on the compositions because it got a bit chaotic right from the word go.
It did.
Let's talk about how this mid game is meant to play out, because I talked about BLG having the best average gold difference at 15 in the league. Like, they don't have the gold lead at 15 this time around. How do they play this comp out to try and answer what LGD are bringing?
I mean, I think it's a bit awkward, right? LGD, all very thematically on point with one another, and they all go forward and murder people like this. Bin has no answer. The rest of BLG weren't there in time to cover either, and they were definitely trying.
I picked a really bad time.
You did, but it's okay. It's all right. I mean, look, you got to answer. You got the answer for the other side, right? Which is for LGD, just looking at the moment for the mid game, looking for picks on side lanes where it's just like clockwork, isn't it?
Here's that pick on the side lane that you wanted, Giovanna. Yagao in a bit of trouble. Does have the stun to try and get himself out, and actually maybe Envy's in trouble instead. Well, we'll walk away. And the presence from Elkanon keeps their mid laner alive. But look at this Meteor. We said earlier, fantastic split so far, and he is absolutely the driving force in this game as well.
Yeah, definitely that's right. Do I try and talk about BLG's comp, or do I wait? I'll
there's a lot of pings.
I was watching Lyric and Jake the other day. They were on cast. Every time Lyric tried to talk about the game, instant fighting. Couldn't do it. It was impossible. So I'm wondering if I've been imbued with the same curse today. I would
argue then it's a good opportunity to try and talk about the comps in order to have more action in the game.
True. Okay, yeah. So for BLG, it's definitely a little awkward, right? They've got very strong champions in the meta. They've got Gwen into Cassante, they've got Annie, they've got Aphelios. These are all champions which are pretty, big meta staples at the minute. But compositionally, it's a bit awkward. I feel like for Bin, he wants to be on the side lane, and realistically, he should, be beating out Fearness in the 1v1 for a considerable amount of time. But that's just when LGD should start sending Haichao into the side lanes instead, right? Clear out the waves instantly, and Bin shouldn't have too much of an answer in that regard. So that can maybe be answered out. BLG, I think they just have to look for, engages which are moderately limited, because they don't really have those non-committal engage tools, right? It's got to be Yagao flashing forward and finding a big Tibbers. It's got to be On kind of doing the same thing with a massive flash pulverize. So I think for BLG, it is kind of about, I suppose, looking for engages that make sense, and the way that you can do that is through vision. And they're already 2 dragons up, so they're going to have to probably just play for Infernal Soul. Mid lane priority is going to be huge, and hopefully for LGD they can identify that, try and shut it down. But I think BLG understand the importance of mid lane priority, because they're trying to just get this tier 1 down instantly.
Yeah, they're trying to burn through it. I don't think they'll have the chance. That said, On punting Jin Chao away helps. He's going to turn pretty much invincible in the mid lane, and down goes the Horsey. Envy jumps forward to answer. Cleanse, flash to get himself back out as Meteor has to get out of dodge. But with Jin Chao going down, priority finally belongs to BLG, and they will finish the tier 1 tower. Look at Haichao, though. In the meantime, he's pushing a tier 2.
Tier 2, not bad, man. He's pushing the money. I don't think he's going to quite get this tower, but he's going to come close. Trying to get the shift stacks up as well to deal a little bit more damage on the tower. That's why he destroyed underneath the tower, if you're wondering why. Of course, the shift procs on the tower. But BLG, they do find a successful fight in the mid lane. It was a little bit dodgy from On, I think, to just be blunt, but goes in. Oh, the combo's interrupted by Jin Chao's Q. That's what it was. Didn't catch that in live. So it makes it look a little bit jankier than it perhaps actually was. As Jin Chao, once he goes in, he kind of gets one shot. And Envy forced to use both summon spells on the way out as Shun comes in for the collapse. So
yeah,
well played by Jin Chao, intentional or not. Stopping On's knockup potentially means a little more commitment, but at the end of the day, BLG still end up finding just about everything they wanted, right? They get the mid lane tier 1, so now priority should be easier to claim there. They got the Herald right before it's going to despawn in a little bit over a minute's time, and they could just use this as a means to really just brute force this next dragon if they really want to, right? Try and catch this next wave up high, drop the Herald, turn it into a dragon, or turn it into a dragon. Very, very plausible as Fearness forced the flash before the fight even kicks off.
Fearness with his flash down. It's not ideal as Jin Chao forced over the wall as well.
Haichao just picked up tier 2.
That's all your front line just forced out of the play instantly. Meteor spotted as Haichao like you say, finish that tower off, and now moving into the play. I feel like Haichao getting a lot of value out of this LeBlanc pick so far. BLG, they know they need this Drake, but LGD aren't letting it go without a fight. The whole team isn't here just yet as Jin Zhao pulls everyone in. Moonlight Vigil only onto one, but Jin Zhao's too deep on this one, and El Touch has been buys time in the backside, and the Needleword full heals him again. Bin's in a 2v1, and he's almost won it, but taken down by Haichao in the end. Calibrum lands onto Haichao. Will get chunked on out. Oh no. Yagao's found him. He's corralling them. Sheepdog Yagao on the scene as he keeps Meteor under the tower. Burns through him, and Elk finishes with the Dusk Wave. Haichao has loved this bottom lane all through the game, and he's just going to move. Wait, is he going to threaten an inhib?
I think he's gonna go back to
excited.
base. He's gonna try it. You know, there was a key factor here missing for LGD in this team fight, and it was Envy. You know, the third best AD carry here in the LPL was getting soloed out by Yagao. Unfortunately, I think he was trying to rotate over after catching the mid lane wave, and Yagao just completely zoned him on the side whilst this fight's going on. Honestly, the engage looked not too bad, to be honest with you, but unfortunately for LGD, not only is MB being soloed out over here, but Bin just healed back so much damage in that 2v1 because he was dealing with mostly tanks. As MB just, there's no counterplay to that, is there? What can you do when you walk face first into Annie? As yeah, the collapse comes in, and it just doesn't look pretty for LGD underneath this tower. And I'm very impressed that you knew what Flamethrower Q was called, to be honest with you. But you're an AD
Dusk Wave,
so
yeah.
maybe, yeah,
Dusk Wave.
I never hear play-by-plays call it by its real name, so I just...
Well, the one that I wish I knew, well, I know that Crescendum is called Sentry. I can't remember what Calibrum's Q is called, the like long-range one, which I feel like is an important one. Other than that, they're not super important, I don't think.
You know, I feel like there's going to be an Aphelios nerd in chat that's really mad about the fact you don't know what the Aphelios Q name is.
It's Quickshot. Quickshot is mad because Quickshot knows like every single ability name in the entire game. I'm not that cracked on the names. My memory is appalling, actually. Like, if there's one thing, you know, people always say like, oh, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change? And they're like, oh, I'd make my nose a little slimmer. I'd actually have a functioning memory, you know? I feel like that's more important.
Yeah, that's a good one there. As you know, what?
How has Meteor got away with that?
Yeah,
Shun is going to get ruined. He's going to die. Second route is not going to land. He's not going to die. I thought they were going to commit way harder to that.
You oversold that by a bit of a mile there, but it's okay. It's okay. We're not mad at you, Munch. We're just disappointed a little bit. I think this is now the point in the game for LGD where they're going to have to make a tough decision very soon, because I think they've tested the 5v5, and I don't know if it's really actually going to get that much better unless they find a real big wombo. They've got very strong carries right now in Haichao and MV. They're both 2 items, but it's about finding those, you know, favorable fights. For me, I just feel like BLG are very unlikely to give that to LGD, and their best shot is playing through the side lane. Right now, it's BLG playing through the side lane, I suppose, as Fearness gets chunked out. But down here, like, Haichao can just be a menace to Bin. He's forced out the needlework just to clear the wave. And that's a huge, you know, 1v1 component for Bin that's just gone. And this is kind of the thing I said for BLG compositionally. Yeah. They'd want Bin to be on the side lane, but the issue is with LeBlanc with Static Shiv, it kind of just makes that a bit of a non-factor. So Haichao can stay down here, clear waves, potentially even eventually get to a point where you can hard pressure a tower. And that could be a bit of a problem for BLG if they don't pick the pace up of the game. And for LGD, they can just kind of stay safe and maybe fish for picks with the ultimate from Sejuani.
That's one thing about this LeBlanc that's not really been talked about that much is actually you have significant split push pressure. The fact that you're building an attack speed item to start off, like your AP does increase your damage to towers. So the build for LeBlanc is actually fantastic for pushing down objectives in the side lane. And the Shiv even procs on towers as well. So you can really put side lane threat on. And like you say, Haichao doing a really good job of that. He's having a fantastic game. And honestly, the fact that Bin is 0-3 against this Cassante down in CS, the fact that there's a massive CS lead for Haichao, he's been able to impact the game more than Yagao has so far. Both of the solo lanes for BLG got their counter pick. They got to choose what matchup they were going into here. And unfortunately, it's not working out for them. LGD really giving BLG a run for their money. And again, this is what LGD do. I feel like we consistently see LGD showing up against top teams, but now they have to do it when it matters. 15 seconds until Ocean Soul spawns on the map for BLG, if they can take that Drake.
Yeah, definitely. BLG do have been on the sideline right now, uncontested on. Looks for an engage. Fierce getting chunked out. Joe.
Jin Zhao's in trouble as well, and Fierce is going to go down. Is it me, or did they just pretty much win a 4v5? Because Bin wasn't even a part of most of the play.
What? I don't know. I think Jin Zhao just being so squishy as he went in there just kind of ruined it for LGD. There's nothing else to really say. They got engaged on real half-heartedly, to be honest with you, as Elk. The chains are there.
Oh, he's going to go down. Has a stopwatch. Yago, you got to save the day here. Elk flashes to his teammates. How is he alive? Haichao tries to finish the jump. Meteor jumps on him as well. The whole gang there to finish him off. But Envy's actually carrying this one. It's 2 kills for the side of LGD. Soul still going to go the way of BLG, but LGD getting some consolation prizes.
Yeah, all right. I mean, Ocean Soul, though, is the permanent buff. I think for LGD, this would feel a lot sweeter if Meteor wasn't the one that accidentally claimed, well, he had to claim that 950 gold bounty off the back of Elk. As the engage comes in, and it's, I don't know. I feel like for Jin Zhao, the fact he goes in, there's not like immediate CC follow-up, but it's just not like there really is much. It feels really bad. Finus also got chunked out on the front line from the engage from Yagao too, so once he takes somebody over the wall with that all out, he just gets one shot. What happens with Elk? Does he just get engaged on double distort, chain in the middle of the wave as well? Really, really solid from Haichao. Stopwatch buys a lot of time, and it does mean that Yagao comes in and gets that stun to stop Meteor from going even further forward, but eventually just finds the W flash auto down. So he's the one that claims the bounty. If that goes into MP's back pocket or Haichao, that gold acceleration is huge, right? But unfortunately, Meteor picking it up does just mean, I mean, he'll be tankier, right? But you need Envy and Haichao to be dishing out the damage right now, and BLG have those damage carries inside of Yagao and Elk.
So Baron started, LGD. I mean, they've got to make something happen here. Jin Zhao, the one to do it. Gravity well across the team with the Q3 lands onto Elk. Envy's onto the back line. And redemption for the LGD roster. But in the meantime, it's been carrying. It's been taking over the fight. The Ocean Soul doing so much work. I don't know how. Elk gets assassinated at the start of the fight, and LGD still can't win it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane, isn't it? Elk goes down, but I guess Bin, even though he's 0-3, he's still a 2-item Gwen, unfortunately, for LGD, and he just minces through the front line. It's so awkward for LGD. They just can't take 5v5s, like, flat out. They can't just go in and engage and hope that they, you know, blow up enough targets, because if it's not Bin and Elk at the same time getting completely one-shot, it doesn't particularly feel doable. This engage from Jin Zhao is pretty damn neat, to be honest with you. He gets almost all 5 members inside of the gravity well. The knockback onto Elk is good, but in the mixer, Bin's just not dying. And I think actually Elk got out a massive Inferno moment. That's why so many members ended up getting mint so quickly. It's actually Elk in his dying breath that makes that one work for BLG, and they pick up the Baron now as well on the back of this team fight. And LGD, all the strengths, right? Potential strength, side lane, pressure here from Haichao, going to be greatly nullified once BLG start to get onto the map.
You could say that that was Elk's last whisper of the team fight, but now he's upgraded that last whisper to a Lord Dominic's regard off the back of it.
Everyone boo him. That was no.
Don't boo me, I'm right. BLG though, I mean, look, this is a heartbreak for LGD, but I feel like every single LGD game and series is a heartbreak for them. Some moments look so good, but on now, diving underneath the tower, it goes back in, and somehow they find a kill before he even goes down. Shun has to ult out of the play here. Bin not a part of this one as Haichao goes in once again, but the carry's still alive. And LGD, they don't want to overpush it.
Yeah, they don't want to go too far. 1-for-1, support for top. In this kind of situation, you take it, I think, as LGD. Maybe it kind of just staves off BLG from knocking on the base doors, but there's tier 2 on the top side, rather. Definitely going to be focused down. It's so low. It's just 600 gold waiting for Bin to be collecting it, and it will go over. So I think for BLG, this siege almost entirely done now, unless they can really find a way to kind of outmaneuver LGD, but they don't really have the best side lane setup at the minute to make that one work. Haichao should still be able to clear out these minions on the top side. maybe they can actually run it down mid, because LGD went for a little bit of a pick onto Bin. I'm not sure how impactful that's going to be. So yeah, that should just be the siege done.
I don't feel like BLG are going to be able to siege much more, but then I do feel like they'll just wait for On to get back and then try and brute force a 5v5. But in fact, they're not even going to wait for On to get back. Haichao's been found. Bin in all kinds of trouble, though, and the answer is there. But Shun is here to carry, and Elk's moved over as well. Jin Zhao out of the top side of the fight. Spearn is now chased down. Tibbers is 1v1ing Envy, who's forced now away. Meteor has that ult available. If they over-push this one, they could be in trouble. Shun steps in. Won't get stunned for the time being, though, but the turret not really doing enough. BLG don't seem to mind that it's there.
Yeah, no, not at all. They do not care. Still got 10 seconds left on the Baron. They can maybe crack open 2 lanes here. Shouldn't you be able to pick up the mid lane? And the top side, yeah, forget the siege point, you know. They can just find that pick onto Haichao, who holds so much of LGD together this game. They can just do this, and it looks like we could just get 2 inhibitors here. As BLG feels real good, considering the siege looked pretty done and dusted. Now LGD are down 2 inhibs.
Meteor trying to get onto Shun here. As BLG, I mean, they're just choking LGD out of this game here. LGD have pushed them to 30 minutes, though. It's a much closer game than realistically the scoreboard would indicate. 5,000 gold lead, though, for BLG. Ocean Soul, 2 inhibs taken, and now Elder spawning on the map in 40 seconds' time. That could be a window for LGD. That could be the way back in.
This is it, Joe. 31 minutes on the clock. Probably 32 by the time the play happens. Elder is there. Meteor has flash. They've already lost the team fight. I'm gonna say Jin Zhao's dead. But then they try and execute the Baron, the dragon. Meteor slips in, finds the pick.
Oh no!
Oh, Jigao just.
I think he's got away with it.
Yeah, Jigao just didn't press Q quite in time. As he is playing with fire.
Yeah, he's walked back in and forced to flash. He got away with it, man. Why did he go back in? I feel like this is the same as when you've got a player on like Lee Sin or on Rakan or on LeBlanc. Like you know you're so slippery that you want to make these plays. Bin is gonna just go in. It's an absolute meat grinder. Oh, what a combo from Jin Zhao though. But in the meantime, Envy's gonna get cut apart by Bin. It's looking good for BLG so far. Meteor goes down. I think that might be game Jamada. It looked so good for so long for LGD, but they just can't make it happen.
You know, I tried to cope for a second for LGD and for the fans, but couldn't quite do it enough. BLG find the pick. Jin Zhao's engage, re-engage rather, looked pretty damn good, but BLG a little bit too far ahead, and Bin cuts down what remained of LGD. Haichao still doing a lot of damage, to be fair, but it's not going to be enough, Joke, and BLG will take game number 1.
Fantastic stuff from BLG. A solid start, as you would expect. Like, I don't think anyone was expecting BLG not looking good today. It felt a little sleepy to start the game, has to be said. Like, you would anticipate a stronger early game from BLG, but at the end of the day, still extremely confident team fighting, extremely confident just plays across the board. Like, the fact that fight around Baron, where we saw Jin Zhao get a great combo on everyone, and you see the Q3 from Fearless hit onto Elk, you see Envy fly into the backline on Kai'Sa, they assassinate Elk. It's like, oh yes, all the pieces are coming together.